Number 5 is slightly tricky. Now let's take a look at those numbers right there and let's decide what's really happening. First of all, 0, 4.5, 12, 22.5. Here's where my mind went. The first thing I noticed was that the numbers are going up. So before we get too deep into this problem, let's read the problem again and make sure we know what it's asking. Which statement is true about the sequence shown below? A, the series converges. B, the series converges. C, the series diverges. D, the series diverges. Does it converge or diverge? Think about it for just a second. If I was to graph these, if graphing was an option, and it is, if graphing was an option, and we're going to just, we're going to be like, there's the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and we're going to graph it, then we would start at 0, because there's 0, and then we'll have 4.5 here, and then we're going to put 12's about up here somewhere, and then almost double that. That would be about 22.5. I'm just kind of guesstimating. So the first one's at 0, and then 4.5, and then that, and then that. So question, are these numbers getting smaller or bigger? I mean, and it's obvious from here, but if I was to graph it and connect them, which is not something you necessarily do with a list of numbers, but if I was to connect them, we can tell that it's kind of tending off towards infinity. We know it's diverging. Di meaning away. It is going away from the x-axis. That's one way of looking at it. Here's our x-axis and there's our values, and it is diverging. I've pretty much narrowed down the answer. Now we know it's not A or B because it's not going to converge. While I'm here, I want to ramble. If it converged, it would probably look more like this. That is exponential decay in some situations. That would be an exponential decay sort of deal. Okay, my next thought was, as I looked at this, is this arithmetic or is it geometric? And you may have already tinkered with this and tried to decide, and it'll stump you if you're not careful. Arithmetic, when you subtract 4.5 minus 0, you get a common difference of 4.5. When you do 12 minus 4.5, you get a common difference of 7.5. So because you don't have the same thing you're adding every time, it is not arithmetic. Geometric, when you divide, you've got 4.5 divided by 0, and you get, all of a sudden you got a problem because you can't divide by 0, get infinity. And then you have 12 divided by 4.5, and clearly it's not infinity. It's not geometric. It is neither. So we know two things. We know it's neither this, and we know it diverges. So now let's look at our options. Letter C. The series diverges because the limit of the sequence as n approaches infinity is infinity. Whoa, what does that mean? If you've had calculus, then you know what limit means. If you haven't, then let me explain it. And don't be caught off guard by the terminology that really would apply in another class as well. The series diverges because the limit of something, we're getting closer to it, of the sequence as n approaches infinity. Well, what's n? N is the term number. If we started at A0, they started at A1 just because they feel like it. I prefer A0. It's really a matter of preference. But that's n. N is 1, n is 2, n is 3, n is 4. And as n approaches infinity, A5, A6, A7, A8, A trillion, A zillion, A billion, A national debt. So, big, big numbers as we're getting closer and closer to infinity. Then n approaches infinity. Then it approaches infinity. In other words, as these numbers get bigger, as I'm counting up the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, millionth one, billionth one, trillionth one, quadrillionth one, then it's getting more towards infinity and it's getting bigger. Here's option D. The limit of the sequence as n approaches infinity is 30. 30? Where'd 30 come from? There is no 30. There is no discernible pattern that points us to 30. The next term, if we were to find the pattern, which by the way this is quadratic and we could find the pattern, the next term may be 30, and I kind of think it is actually. I think the next term is 30, But if the next term is 30, that doesn't mean that long term it's 30. It approaches infinity. It is going away from the axis, so it approaches infinity, and the answer is C.